Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDad FF, joined as always by my main man at FF Snoog. Snoog, we got a great show tonight. We're going to talk about 6 breakout wide receivers to smash for your 2025 season. And this year, there's a lot of guys. Last year, we predicted Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, Ladd McConkey, Rashee Rice. We picked a lot of guys to really break out. And this year, it's a little bit trickier than last year, but I'm super excited for this wide receiver class and the guys that we're about to talk to.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this wide receiver class as well, and the guys that we're going to talk about tonight, because a lot of these guys have the talent, have the skill set, opportunities, and QB play and stuff have gotten in the way from them really hitting their stride. But a lot of them are set up prime to be breakout candidates in 2025. So we're going to jump into that shortly here, kind of talk about the process, dive into some trades for each player, what that looks like, and why we think they're going to break out.
Yeah, and before we even do that, guys, I want to point out, if you guys want to get the best content around, including the fastest growing Discord in Dynasty, make sure you guys check this out. This is our Discord, patreon.com/smashaccept. Go ahead, set that up. We'll send you the link. You guys are going to be ready to absolutely dominate and smash your 2025 offseason. Snoog, my first buy here, and if you guys know me, you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys follow what we've been doing, it's no surprise. It's going to be Tetairoa McMillan. I have been stoked since college. I've been like, this is a guy, back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons, 6'5", 220 pounds, that alpha wide receiver. A lot of people were like worried about where his draft stock was. He goes 8th overall. Snoog, to an ideal situation. He goes to the Panthers, who are starved for a wide receiver 1. Adam Thielen finished as wide receiver 15 with Bryce Young down the stretch. And I think Tetairoa McMillan, right now, you look at where he's going in ADP. And I know I just got him in Smash Accept 19 or Smash Accept Global. I got him in the 4th round of startups. This is the type of player who's going to go in 2nd rounds of startups next year. Redraft, he's going as wide receiver 36. That's insane. This guy is on pace and going to be a guy that gets 140 targets year 1. I am smashing Tetairoa McMillan everywhere I can get him. I'm looking at trade Snoog right now where I'm trying to insulate. I'm trying to get, I'm tearing off of a guy like Puka Nacua or, a Garrett Wilson and getting Tetairoa McMillan in a first where I can. I'm trying to tear up from a Zay Flowers, a Jordan Addison. I'm willing to pair a 26 late first with those type of players to get up to Tetairoa McMillan because he's that kind of talent.
Yeah, we talked about it along the whole way before we jump into some trades here. Dave Canales gets his Mike Evans, like we saw him in Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield, that big body alpha receiver who wins downfield. Guess what? Tetairoa McMillan's literally 21 years old, going to do everything that you want from that kind of Mike Evans-y type of role with Dave Canales, with Bryce Young. He's already familiar with a player like this. He looks phenomenal in camp. He's moving extremely well. So let's jump into a few trades here. First one is going to be an insulated trade like you talked about right away. Puka Nacua or Tet McMillan in a mid-2026 first. Let's say that's in the 105 to 107 range.
I've outlined this already. In 2026, I think there's about 6 prospects that I absolutely love. I'm perfectly fine. I would prefer this to be 2027. We all know that 27 class is going to be phenomenal, but I think there's a real world chance where Tetairoa McMillan closes this gap. We talk about insulated trades at Smash Accept all the time, where you buy a player that you're really comfortable with, and I think Puka Nacua smashes this year. Don't get me wrong, but I think if you get Tetairoa McMillan and a first, Tet closes that gap. And then that first insulates and increases in value. Snoog, I mean, I think Tetairoa McMillan has 80 reception, 1,200 yard, 10 touchdown type upside in 2025. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on that. They keep telling me, oh, but Adam Thielen's there, Xavier Legette's there, Jalen Coker's there, Jimmy Horn Jr. I'm sorry. If you list those names out and you're serious about football, none of those guys are really going to eat into what Tetairoa McMillan really can do. And I think this guy's a true alpha.
None of those guys. Thielen's good. The rest of those guys suck. All right, so jumping into this next one, we talked about a tier back from a Puka, an Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas Jr. Let's talk about a tier up. The guys that we talked about that we always try to tier up off, like those Jameson Williams, those type of players. Zay Flowers and Luther Burden. Or Tetairoa McMillan?
I mean, I like Luther Burden and I like Zay Flowers, but I think Zay Flowers is an ends to a mean. or means to an end. I think he's a guy that you use to trade up to get a Tetairoa McMillan. I don't think Zay Flowers, he's had the exact same amount of games under 40 yards as he does over 80 yards. When I want a player like that, that's just someone that I use to tier up or tier down. So I mean, as much as everybody's going to hate and say Dad really is down on the Zay Flowers type, I am, because I think Tetairoa McMillan is someone that's going to put up 15 plus fantasy points week in, week out, 8 to 10 targets, 60 to 100 yards, and he's going to sprinkle in a touchdown in probably 75% of his games. So I would definitely smash that trade. Give me one more.
Yeah, let's do this one. Let's say, are you willing to give up Jalen Waddle and a 26 first to go get Tet McMillan? Let's say it's a late one in the 110 to 112 range.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I like Jalen Waddle. I really do. But you reset the clock by 4 years by adding a late first. And I think Jalen Waddle.
You have a guy that could jump into the top 10. I don't think Waddle can ever get back there.
And Bryce Young versus Tua, Bryce Young and Tua are very similar ceilings. But I think Bryce Young is healthy. He's going to be around longer. And I think Tetairoa McMillan, if you can get in on the ground floor right now, I think you're going to get supreme value. I have bought him everywhere I can. This is someone who I think is a almost guarantee to break out and increase in value. Just like this next guy, Snoog. We've been on him since day one. You and I were talking backstage. It's remarkable. Neither of us own a single share, because last year we were telling everybody to trade Marvin Harrison Jr. for Malik Neighbors Plus. And man, did that pay off. I mean, that paid off crazy. I've seen people now, someone in the Discord today traded Malik Neighbors for Marvin Harrison and 227 firsts. Like now we're at a spot where Marv now has post-hype sleeper effect. He's a super flex equivalent of the 102. I think you could buy for considerably less. With Kyler Murray in this Cardinals offense, why are you buying Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I think he's an alpha superstar. I think he's going to be, like we talked about, I comped it a lot to like when CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, a lot of these guys as rookies kind of had like great rookie seasons, but not Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors type rookie years, Brian Thomas Jr., these guys that come out and put up, 1,200, 1,300 yards as a rookie. Marv showed that he can be an alpha, an elite player, 4th overall draft pick. He literally had generational draft capital. He's a guy that can win with his feet. He can win downfield. He's so savvy with his route running and with his separation skills. And the best thing about Marvin Harrison Jr. to me is his ability to catch the ball when he's not open. And that's such an underrated trait to me. George Pickens has it. DeAndre Hopkins had it. If you can make a play when you're not open, that's a number one receiver. Mm-hmm. That's a player that, Kyler Murray's back there and says, no one's open. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to make this a 70-30 ball. And he has that trait. So, 800 plus yards and 8 touchdowns. He joins elite company. If you just go back to all rookies to ever do that, he's in great company. He's not like in bust territory like people try to act like he is. He's still a top 10 dynasty wide receiver for me. And let's jump into some of these trades, because I do think him and Kyler are going to jump on the same page in terms of chemistry. And we've seen D-Hop have a phenomenal year with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and 885 and 8. That's only 4 guys in NFL history have done that as a rookie. I think Marv, if we can get the amount of catchable balls, that was the only thing, right? The targets were there, the receptions were there. The amount of catchable balls for him was less than 71%, Snoog. And I think that's definitely going to increase in 2025. Let's break down some trades here, because I think there's some value to be had when it comes to Marvin Harrison Jr. Like this first trade, we talk about tearing down. We already talked about it a little bit with Tetairoa McMillan. Puka Nacua in a 4th, or Marv, a 27 first and a 26 second.
This is Marv all day long. You could remove the second, Marv in a first. I'd even give a second on the Puka side. I'd do Puka in a second for Marv in a first, 10 times out of 10. There's a real world that Marv can pass Puka Nacua in value, in my opinion. Puka's great. He's a stud, but I just think Marv is as good of a talent as him. I don't think he has a situation like Puka does, but what happens when Stafford's gone? We don't really know what Puka's going to look like as much. So Marv, to me, I think it's you're getting still another foundational asset plus a 27 first. That could end up being the best player in this entire trade. Probably not going to be. There's a small chance, though.
Let me clarify. We both love Puka Nacua. We're just saying on insulated trades where you're getting 2 over 1. You know what I mean? When you do an insulated trade and you get that 27 first, if that 27 first becomes a top 4 pick, and now all of a sudden you get DJ Lagway, or you get something elite, now all of a sudden you dominated that trade. Next one, Snoog, I kind of like this. It's just straight up picks, random 26 first. So you got 2 26 first and a 26 second, or Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, let me preface this. Next year's class is extremely weak at the wide receiver position. It's Jordan Tyson. It's Carnell Tate. It's not a lot. But Marvin Harrison Jr. clearly would be the one in that class.
He'd be the 101 in next year's class by 100%. A mile. He'd be worth 3+ first coming out.
I like Jeremiah Love, but you're right. He would clearly be the 101.
If it's late, you win by a mile. If it's mid, it's fair. If they're both early, I'd say it's still probably fair, but it might be a bit of an overpay for Marv. But that's how I would break that down.
I got another one here I think you're going to like, and this is interesting, but it's Marvin Harrison Jr., Jalen Coker, and 2/3, or the 104 and the 204.
Marv all day long.
Yeah.
Marv all day long. And that's a reasonable trade to get done.
Because at the 104, it's going to be Hampton, Tet, or Hunter, and you and I love all three of those prospects. Marv, if you had to pick today between Marv and Travis, Matt, rank all 4 of them, right? Hampton, Marv, Tet, and Hunter. Give me a rank of those 4 players.
Marv, Travis, Tet, Hampton is how I would rank them. I definitely have Marv above the other 2 receivers. Just different level of talent and player, in my opinion. I think Travis Hunter, talent-wise, can be maybe more effective in fantasy football than Marv, but I would take Marv over him in a all day long as a franchise owner and as an NFL GM for a wide receiver.
Yeah, and that's the value tier he belongs in.
Yeah,
he goes slightly ahead of those guys. A guy that goes way behind those guys that certainly should not. Rashee Rice, over his last 9 games, he has 85 targets, 69 receptions, 685 yards, and Snoog, second only to Puka Nacua with 3.0 yards per route run. I think a lot of people really just over-invested in the idea that Rashee Rice was going to get suspended. The idea that his injury was going to drag on. Snoog, I don't know if you noticed this. He's back at practice already. He is there in the fold. He looks completely healed, ready to go from that injury that he had. A lot of people thought the injury was a lot more serious, thinking ACL, things like that. It was not that. He is ready to go. I think by the time the season rolls around, we're going to see a sharp Rashee Rice. We're going to see a Rashee Rice who's hungry, who's motivated. You saw he looked, Snoog, he was the wide receiver, I believe wide receiver 3 by the time when he got injured. He was getting peppered, 10 to 12 plus targets every single game, tied to Patrick Mahomes. And I think a lot of people are starting to say, well, Xavier Worthy did this while he was gone. Keyword there, while he was gone. And I like Xavier Worthy. You could argue Xavier Worthy is in this breakout area, but I think Rashee Rice is the guy that's going to smash. I think he is going to be in line for a Amon-Ra St. Brown type 100+ receptions, 1,200+ yards, 10+ touchdowns. This is your last chance to buy Rashee Rice. His equivalent right now is the 105, but we talked about tearing off these other players. Rashee Rice is going in the same area. Early 4th in Smash Accept 19. I was furious because he went the pick before Tet. I really wanted Rashee Rice. I could settle with Tetairoa McMillan because I love him too. But those are 2 foundational assets that I'm buying every single opportunity I can. Snoog, hit me up with some trades here because whenever I talk about Rashee Rice, I get even a little bit more emotionally involved because when it comes to being risk averse, I'm all in, right? We were talking about when the suspension came out, and what did I say? Go buy him right now. And I bought him for seconds all over the place because everybody was like, they were worried. Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? Rashee Rice is a supreme talent. He's going to be someone that for years to come is going to, you're going to reap the rewards of going ahead and buying him now.
Yep, exactly. And right away, jumping in some of these trades, are you willing to pay a mid 26 first and second with a 3rd and 4th attached to it for Rashee?
All day long. All day long. I would be, I said this on the last show, outside of Jeremiah Love, and I don't think you have to do this, right? But I would prefer Rashee Rice over the 2026 102, 103. I think Sellers is going to be a nice player. I think, you're going to see Nick Singleton in there. I don't think Arch Manning comes out, but I do think Rashee Rice is literally worth that, but you don't have to pay it. Give a mid 26 first and a second. Give a pair of late 26 seconds, and you're going to get a guy who's 24 years old, who's going to be an absolute alpha. Give me Rashee Rice.
This is the right trade right here, and this is what everybody should be trying to do. Ricky Pearsall in a mid to late 26 first for Rashee Rice and get Tyrone Tracy thrown in there. Perfect trade. That's a cowbell. I love that.
And
that's tearing up.
Hey, we don't do that on this show, but I'll do it. I love Ricky Pearsall. I think he's got a lot of upside. I really do. But his upside is not the same as Rashee Rice, right? I think his upside is a guy that could be 800 yards and one of these seasons break over 1,000, get 10 plus touchdowns. But I don't think it's going to be consistent in that San Francisco offense. Rashee Rice, a lot of people think Patrick Mahomes is going to have his best year since when he threw 50 touchdowns. I think he could potentially do that. And if he does that, the guy that's going to reap those rewards is Rashee Rice.
We saw what they were trying to do before Rice got hurt, right? Like Rice was literally Amon-Ra St. Brown, like literally.
Exactly.
He was Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's what he was putting up for numbers, the targets, the slants. He was unguardable. He's going to be the same. He's going to do the same role in that offense. And once Travis Kelce retires, I still think we're going to get another year. I still like Travis Kelce. I think we can get some more out of him. But there's a good chance once he's done, Worthy stretch in the field, it's going to be Rashee Rice show all day. I think Worthy's still a great asset, good piece, good player. But Rice is going to be that fantasy football merchant that's underneath, getting all his slants and yak.
And I love that we both see him as a Amon-Ra St. Brown type player. Snoog, if I came to you today with a, Amon-Ra or Rashee Rice in a mid 27 first, what are you taking?
Rice.
I think that's a deal you can get done though, right? Like I think you can still get that trade. You might have to throw in a third or throw in an Aaron Jones or a guy that you don't necessarily need. But I think you can get that deal done, and I'm doing it all day long. Give me one more trade.
Yeah, I like this one here. What about RJ Harvey, Jordan James, and a 26 second for Rashee Rice? I think this is another doable trade to get done.
That's Rashee Rice all day. I love RJ Harvey. J.K. Dobbins is rumored to come in there, so that might dip his value a little bit. But I'm taking Rashee Rice here because, Snoog, when we talk about running backs versus, foundational wide receivers, it's always the wide receiver. That's why when we talk about guys in that 104 range, some people are like, Dad, would you rather have Rashee Rice or Jonathan Taylor? It's Rashee Rice. Would you rather have Rashee Rice or Bucky Irving? It's still Rashee Rice because you got a guy that's 24 who could play 6 years of wide receiver one ball as opposed to a running back who's going to get you maybe 3-4 years. Another wide receiver, Snoog, that I think has breakout written all over him. You and I loved him coming out of college. One of just, 4 guys to have over 1,000 yards, over 2.0 yards per route run and 10 touchdowns. You had Rome, Malik, Marv, Tetairoa McMillan. Those were the guys. And Rome Odunze was absolutely him at Washington. Year one was not what we wanted, but there was some flashes, right?
He had his Jerry Jeudy rookie year, 700 plus yards, 100 plus targets, couple touchdowns, showed flashes. I just love the idea of the prospect, the pedigree, 10th overall pick. I think he actually did he go 8th overall? Top 10, whatever, same thing. Doesn't matter. And 6'3", kind of that boundary wide receiver. Another guy that, even when he's not open, he's open. Like even when he's covered, he can still make a play. He can separate. He can win out of the slot. Ben Johnson's going to have a field day with this offense. I think I confidently can say that Ben Johnson's offenses, especially with the Caleb Williams talent of a quarterback, can support, 3, maybe even 4 receiving assets just in general, in total. They're not going to all be 1,000-yard guys, superstars, but they can all be relevant. I think it's going to be Rome and DJ Moore, and I think Loveland is going to be the third one with a little bit of burden sprinkled in for this upcoming season. Then I think they'll somehow get out of a DJ Moore contract, trade, whatever it is. That's probably what they're trying to set up here for long term. And then Rome's going to be the alpha, Burden's going to be the slot merchant, and Loveland's going to be his Sam Laporta. That's probably how I'm envisioning how he's setting things up for the future. But again, you hit it already. Rome was a stud. He basically helped carry that Washington offense with Michael Penix there. Them two were just lights out together in college. damn good player, can win at the catch point, very fundamentally sound, can run routes, catch the ball everywhere. So let's jump into a few Rome trades. Everybody's a sell. Remember we said Rome was a buy, then he was a sell.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Ben Johnson went there, he was a buy. And now he's like a buy again for us because they got crowded. But like it's like crazy how many times he's fluctuated for us.
Hey, quick comment here from Mr. Angel. He said, hey, great live. This is what I'm looking for because in my league, it's very difficult to get trades for the top wide receivers. And I have a lot of intermediate players, so I want to upgrade. He is in the Discord. You know, we have that listed again. We want you guys to make sure you guys check us out. So smash the subscribe button for the YouTube page. It's over 4,000. But our Patreon is now up over 800 members. And that's what they're looking for. Snoog and I keep teaching you guys. I love Zay Flowers as a football player. I hate his situation. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. I love a lot of these players, but I don't love their situation. Odunze, I love the player. I love the situation. If you're tearing up from him, this is an opportunity you're going to have to absolutely smash and get yourself into position to dominate in 2025. Snoog, let's break down some trades here. The first one I have is the 107 or Odunze in a 25 third. That's J-Mo.
Hold on. My screen just crashed. 1 sec. All right, there we go.
Hey, that's all right.
There we go.
Again,
okay, I'm taking Rome there. Actually, I want Judkins. If it's Judkins, I want Judkins. If it's
okay.
If it's not Judkins and it's Cam Ward, I still want Cam Ward. I'm not paying the 107 for Rome. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't want to pay that.
I would do it. I would do it because I think you have a lot more upside with Rome Odunze, but I don't think you have to. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think that's a slight overpay. Where I would want to pay is like 108, 109 plus. Like get out of maybe 110, 111, 112. Get out of that range plus seconds and stuff like that. Pull up the screen here though, and we can break down a few more. I think the key with buying Rome is going to be getting him in package deals where he's not the main piece. You know what I mean?
It's tough 1-for-1. I mean, I see DJ Moore versus Rome Odunze, and I think in the Chicago room, I love DJ Moore production-wise, but Rome has more value. You're going to have to try to package it up, get yourself in there, because, I mean, here I see 108 for Rome Odunze. The 8, I'm not even debating. I prefer him over the 7. I think that's kind of in that fair area. Let's take a look.
That's what I would try to do, like Warren into a Odunze, or like Warren in a second, or Golden in a first for Rome in a second, Golden in a second, and stuff like that.
But Rome and Travis Etienne or Michael Penix Jr. and Parker Washington.
Rome, I'm fine taking Rome there. Yep,
that's the kind of deal I like, or this one.
Yep.
Jackson Dart and Emeka Egbuka or Rome Odunze and Baker Mayfield.
Rome and Baker all day long. Yeah, all day long.
And I think these are the kind of trades you can. This one's interesting to me. This one's really interesting to me because last year you could not have done it. And that's why you and I keep preaching to everybody. Dynasty is cyclical. Every single year is different. Rome Odunze and 2 mid-27 firsts or Malik Neighbors.
Rome.
Where would those 27 firsts? I like if they're both late, I think it's Neighbors. But if they're both mid, I would really take a shot on this.
Anything mid to early, I want it. I want it all day long, all day long.
And one more here, AJ Brown in Rome or Marv and Chase Brown. That one's one that kind of gets you thinking a little bit, but
Marv and Chase Brown.
Yeah. And Marv's the guy. If you look at the two, what's the gap for you? We're talking about breakout players. How certain are you that Marv breaks out percentage-wise? And how certain are you that Rome breaks out? And then the third part of the question is, what's the gap between the two in a trade?
I'd say I'm certain, very certain, like putting everything on the table for Marv to break out.
Give me a number. 90?
I'd say 10 out of 10.
Okay, so you're almost up. It's going to happen.
100% on board with Marv having over 1,000 yards and 10-plus touchdowns this year. Rome Odunze, I'd say it's 50-50. I think there's a good chance. I think the situation's there. I think the quarterback's there. I'm not sure if the target volume is going to be there. That's the one issue, but we know the talent's there. We know the coach and we know the quarterback. So he's got 3 out of the 4. The gap, mid to late first for me, I'd say. Or 1-2 swap, but I think it's more of like a mid first.
And if I'm rebuilding, I'm willing to take that gamble to get Rome. You know, I want Marv, but I think Rome is, if I had to establish someone who's outside the foundational, because we say Marv, we say Tet, we say Rashee Rice, so that Rome's the next guy that's going to be foundational. This next guy is not a foundational, but as far as a breakout, and you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it, but I love it. Jameson Williams is someone in this offseason I have bought everywhere, and I'm getting him for a pair of seconds. I have his equivalent as the 110, but Snoog, he finishes a wide receiver 20. Out of every wide receiver last year that finished over 1,000 yards, he's the only one under 95 targets. He did this 58 receptions, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Everybody forgets this guy has had a bad stretch. He's a top 10 drafted wide receiver out of Alabama who had Tyreek Hill type compensation.
Speed.
Like people were saying, he's going to be this type of player, right? And then year 1, he gets injured. In year 2, he gets suspended. Year 3, another early suspension. And then he breaks out. And Snoog, from weeks 3 through 11, it was mediocre. Weeks 11 through 18, my man balled the hell out. Wide receiver 14, 38 receptions, 587 yards, 5 touchdowns, finishes the wide receiver 14 over that time. He is a best ball dream. He's the wide receiver 2 that you want in Detroit, because heaven forbid Amon-Ra St. Brown gets injured. This guy has 1,500-yard upside. I think
he can ball out.
And he's cheap. Like, this is what the issue is. These other guys are expensive. I have bought Jameson Williams for Mike Evans even up on a rebuilding team. I have bought Jameson Williams for a pair of seconds. I have bought Jameson Williams for Stephon Diggs in a second. I have bought Jameson Williams on the flip side, tearing down, where I got J-Mo in a first for Zay Flowers in a second. He's just cheap, but he has tremendous upside. I think talent-wise, he's an absolute burner. He's in the right offense. They have a lot of mouths to feed. I understand that. But he's third in the pecking order, but he doesn't need the targets. He had over 1,000, which is 95 targets last year. No one else has done that. So he's someone that doesn't need it, but if he gets it, man, we're going to see some bright future from Jameson Williams.
We saw Jalen Waddle and Brandon Ayuk kind of be wicked, and Pickens all put up over 1,000 yards on like less than like 120 targets. Just hyper efficient with their yards per catch and stuff like that. J-Mo and that high-powered offense can hit that type of ceiling if he just stays healthy and just balls out like he did at the end of the stretch last year. So just right away, just jumping into a couple of trades right here for Jameson Williams. We're looking at, turning him. How about, all right, I like this one here. Turning Tucker Kraft, Tyler Algier, and a 27 third for Jameson Williams.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's literally a post I just did today. I found these ones on Dynasty Dad Lab, and I was like, we talk about polishing up turd sandwiches. We talk about just going out there and getting a player, and this was one of them. I mean, I saw it polishing up these players to get Jameson Williams. Your ceiling is nowhere near the same. I'm going Jameson Williams here 100 times out of 100.
What about the 202 of Jameson Williams straight up?
Jameson Williams. I think the 202's got a lot of upside. I really do, but I don't think it has the same as Jameson Williams. I mean, I think the guy has a ton of upside. I'm trying to find a couple of these other trades because, Snoog, they were pretty wild. Like, they were not even close.
Who are you taking between Jaden Reed and J-Mo?
Jameson Williams. Jaden Reed proved that he's not that guy. Snoog, listen to these other trades that I pulled off recently is DeAndre Swift, Tank Bigsby, and Cole Kmet for Jameson Williams. Xavier Legette and Kyle Williams for Jameson Williams. The difference between Jameson Williams and the rest of these guys is he's going to break out and cost you a fraction of what the other guys are. And that's why I'm so big on him, because I don't think he's ever going to get to a value where he's worth 2 firsts or 2.5 firsts. But I think you can get him right now for a pair of seconds and sell him for a mid-first next year.
I got a fun
because next year's class doesn't have the wide receivers.
As a rebuilder, for the listeners that kind of need help, maybe your rebuild ideas, if they got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jameson Williams, and 3 random future firsts for Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, in a second.
Wait, Jamar Chase and Jefferson?
No, Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Throw a second on their side for J-Mo and just 3 random firsts. Let's just say a 26, 27, 28.
That scares the heck out of me. I mean, if you're
J-Mo,
talking
though. In a rebuild,
if
it's
you're
got to be J-Mo.
if you're talking 327 first, I hate trading for the ones where a guy trades is 26, 27, 28.
Say it's a
probably
26. Say it's like 226 and a 27, a 26 and 227s.
As
Are you
long as
willing
all
to do
three
that
aren't
as a rebuilder?
as long as all three aren't late, I think it's like a free
Yeah.
JMO. Because no wide receiver is worth
but
more
not
than
too good.
no wide receiver is worth more than 3 firsts. And I think
Yeah,
you
I
get
agree.
JMO for free there. I don't want to trade Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, though. So I think they're more of that centerpiece. If I'm trading off elite players like that, I'm getting BTJ, I'm getting Tep, I'm getting Rice. I don't want to trade all the way down to Jameson Williams. Last player on our list, and this is going to be surprising to a lot of people, but Snoog is in on Zay Flowers this year. A lot of you are surprised that I said Jameson Williams. Snoog and I are trying to give you one of those later guys. If he was in the Chargers offense, he's a top 12 wide receiver. He is an elite route runner. He's someone that separates like crazy. Snoog, but he's on the Ravens.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson just had a career passing year last year. Like hit 4,000 yards passing, was ridiculously good as a passer in terms of passing touchdowns and all that good stuff. Yeah, 4,100 yards and 41 touchdowns. Zay Flowers is going into year 3 of chemistry with this offense with all these coaches, new coaches for Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, Todd Monken's system, getting used to that. Zay Flowers back-to-back 200 plus point seasons, 108 targets in both seasons, 75 plus receptions in both seasons. He had 1,000 yards, 74 receptions, and only 4 touchdowns last year. If Lamar's throwing 41 touchdowns, at some point your wide receiver one's got to get 6, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. And I think he has 1,200-yard upside all day long in this offense. So he's one of those players I've been thinking on. I'm like, okay, first-round pick. I love the talent, human joystick, dynamic player, elite with the ball in his hands. They give him a ton of screen opportunity, so he organically gets a lot of natural targets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he can be, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, like those guys when they had those 1,200, 1,300 plus yard seasons. I think he can get there with 120, 130 targets in this Ravens offense. And I think all he needs is touchdown upside to swing his way. Mm-hmm. He just needs to get a little bit more lucky with Lamar Jackson's deep balls and, touchdowns and score 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, and he'll finish as a top 15 wideout. He's cheaper. He's so talented. You know what you're going to get from him, and he's in an elite offense. So I just think I'm like telling myself, I'm not going to overthink it anymore with Zay Flowers.
All right. So the trade that I keep seeing the most is random 26 first or Zay Flowers. We know the wide receiver class is not quite there. If it was random, would you rather have him or Zay Flowers?
If I could project it to be like 109 to 112, I'd take Zay. Otherwise, I want the random part of the first. But if I'm contending, I need a young wideout, and I think it's going to be a late first. I'm fine paying that for Zay Flowers.
Yeah, because I saw a trade go down yesterday, 112 for Zay Flowers in this class. I think he's worth the 109 in this class for sure. I think he's right there. Would you rather have Ibuka or Zay Flowers?
I have Emeka higher. I think Emeka is a better player, but they're close.
Okay.
They're very close to me.
Couple quick trades here. The first one's very interesting. Trevor Lawrence and Ladd McConkey, or Patrick Mahomes, Zay Flowers, and Cade Otton.
Oh, it's Patrick Mahomes and Zay Flowers for me all day long. All day long.
Zay Flowers and a 26 second or the 110?
Zay Flowers. Yep.
Zay Flowers and a 26 third, or Keon Coleman, Algier, and a 27 second.
Zay Flowers. See, right? That's what we're trying to do right there. Yeah.
And then the last one here, Ladd McConkey or Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers.
Smith and Flowers.
I'm leaning slightly towards the Ladd, but it's very interesting towards the way you go. And hopefully you guys can take what we did today. We could talk about potential breakouts. Guys that Snoog and I feel like are really on that cusp. Snoog and I both believe there's a 90+% chance that these first 3 guys, that Marvin Harrison Jr., that Rashee Rice, and that Tetairoa McMillan become breakout players and are foundational wide receivers. We think that there is a probably 75% chance that Odunze goes there. And the other 2, they're a little bit more lottery scratch-offs. You got a 50-50 chance on Jameson Williams and Zay Flowers. Snoog and I both believe that they are on the cusp of breaking out. guys that you can buy for less than a first or right around that late first that are going to increase in value. So if you guys like what you guys saw today, make sure you guys go ahead and smash the subscribe button so you guys can enjoy the process with us every single day. We are bringing out major content. We are coming out in a big way as far as Dynasty and Redraft to help you guys smash 2025. And if you want to go even further, you have my content, Snoog's content, 800 people in there talking shop where we have all of our rankings. We're going to have start sits. We're going to have trades. We're going to have buys. We're going to have sells. Everything you guys need, a one-stop shop. One of the guys today said, Dad, this is literally my own personal Twitter. I don't even go on there anymore. I love that because that's what I wanted. You know, I wanted a group of guys that we come in there. They trust what we're saying. If you guys are interested in that, if you guys are tired of talking to your girlfriend, your wife, your coworkers about your fantasy team, come in, join us. So thanks again for tuning in and enjoy the process. Peace.